Mazda has always been a car company that's done things its own way. While everybody else was downsizing and turbocharging their petrol engines, Mazda persisted with large capacity combustion engines. While everybody else was hybridizing and electrifying their model ranges, Mazda persisted with large capacity combustion engines. The new CX-60 then is a bit of a departure for Mazda in that it's not a departure from what everybody else is doing. You see, while this car is the company's new flagship, it's also the company's first plug-in hybrid. How very fashionable.
Have a quick browse of the numbers and they look pretty good. The electric motor and the 2.5 litre 4-cylinder petrol engine combine to give a very healthy power output of 323 brake horsepower, which makes this the most powerful car that Mazda has ever produced. More importantly though, this car will take you a very respectable 39 miles on electric power alone when it has a fully charged battery, and the official WLTP figures reckon you'll get 188 miles per gallon, although you should have a similar amount of trust in those figures as you do a politician's promises.
The first thing that strikes you though is the sheer size of this car. It's supposed to compete with plug-in hybrid rivals such as the Ford Kuga, Toyota RAV4 and Vauxhall Grandland, but also with more premium offerings such as the Audi Q5, BMW X3 and Mercedes GLC. But the Mazda is bigger than any of them. But does that size translate into good practicality? Well, it certainly does in the boot. If you kick your foot under the bumper, that is a standard feature on all three trim grades, by the way, then you're met with a large square space that totals 570 litres.
With the exception of the Ford, that's bigger than any of the PHEV rivals we've mentioned, and in most cases, a lot bigger. You also get 40-20-40 split folding rear seats to give you more flexibility when carrying bigger loads, and there are catches either side of the load bay that make dropping them even more convenient.
Climbing the rear seats and the amount of space you get is a little bit less impressive. Importantly, there's enough room for tall people to sit comfortably. I'm 6'1" and there is easily enough headroom and legroom to keep me comfortable, and a third person will sit comfortably in the middle seat provided that they're prepared to sit with their feet either side of this hump in the floor. However, compared with the smaller CX-5 SUV, you don't really feel like you're getting much more space to stretch out in the CX-60, and when the car's so much bigger, that's a little bit of a disappointment. Climb in the driver's seat and you are instantly treated to the CX-60's party piece. Check this out, it's called the driver personalization system, and what you do is the screen asks you to put in your approximate height, which I shall now do, 6'1", and then hit start, and then it automatically adjusts the steering, the seat, the mirrors, all for what it thinks my preferred driving position will be. I've got to be honest, that's kind of not how I'd have it myself, so I'll probably shift myself a bit forward and a little bit more upright. So then we'll save that, and then it uses facial recognition technology, so I've got to look at the mirrors, and then it's recognised my face, so every time I get in the car, those settings are immediately punched in and my driving position is perfect.
Your forward visibility is fantastic thanks to slim windscreen pillars and a low-set dashboard, so it's easy to see where the nose of the car ends. Your rear visibility isn't so great because the thick rear pillars do hamper your view, but all models come with all-round parking sensors and a reversing camera as standard.
In fact, standard equipment is a big area of strength generally with the CX-60.
Even the most basic exclusive line versions come with alloy wheels, leather upholstery, heated front seats and steering wheel, cruise control, dual zone climate control and an infotainment system with DAB radio, navigation, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and a 12.3-inch screen.
Meanwhile, Homura and Takumi trims keep on piling on the features. However, it is a little bit disappointing that radar cruise control is a cost option on all trim levels. And going back to that screen for a minute, just look at this. Absolutely nothing happening. And that's not because it's broken, that's because this is not a touchscreen. Mazda believes that touchscreens, however fashionable they are too distracting for use in cars. And so instead, you scroll through the on-screen menus using this dial controller. And we've got one thing to say to that: hallelujah. We couldn't agree more with Mazda's stance on that, and we wish that more manufacturers would follow the lead. And look, it is super easy to scroll through these logical on-screen menus. The graphics are really crisp, and it is super easy to use these physical aircon controls.
What might surprise you most about the CX-60's interior is the impressive quality on show. The CX-60 is the start of a concerted effort by Mazda to push up market and provide genuine competition for the likes of Audi and BMW, and the standard of the materials really reflects that, with plush, cushioned surfaces, tasteful finishes and slick feeling switches.
Get the CX-60 out on the road and you might be a little bit surprised by the car's demeanour. You might be expecting this large SUV to do what large SUVs do and provide a plush, lolloping, wallowy ride. However, this large SUV also happens to be a Mazda, and that's not what Mazdas tend to do.
Instead, the suspension is actually quite firm. Not to the point of being uncomfortable in any way, but you do feel more of the road surface beneath you than you do in many rivals.
And what that firmness gives you is a nice sense of connection with the road, along with very reasonable suppression of body roll in the corners. That, along with the plentiful grip and traction you get from the standard four-wheel drive, actually makes the CX-60 feel really impressively agile for a car of this type.
The steering, which is nice and weighty and delivers very decent feedback, heightens that feeling of engagement even more.
The drivetrain is fine, but it is a little bit less appealing. Rather than the eerie silence you expect when you're rolling around on electric power only, the motor actually makes quite a loud whine as it pulls you around town. It does settle down a bit once you're going faster, and most of the time the hybrid system does manage to juggle its two power sources reasonably smoothly, and you can make decent progress without having to work the petrol engine too hard.
However, when you do give it a boot full of revs, the engine can become a bit on the raucous side. The CX-60 is a typical Mazda in that it's a very likeable car that does what it does unapologetically, and that's deliver an engaging driving experience and lots of creature comforts in a package that's stylish, well made and really impressive for interior quality. Granted, it probably won't suit everyone. Those after ultimate comfort might be put off by the slightly firm ride, and although the drivetrain is fine, it could be a little more polished. But if you're after a family SUV with a hint of something a little bit different about it, then we'd say the CX-60 is well worth a look. If you haven't already, then please do subscribe to the CarGurus UK YouTube channel for lots more videos. And if you're looking for a new car, head over to cargurus.co.uk to find lots of great ones for sale, and using our clever pricing technology, we'll even tell you whether the dealer selling it is giving you a good price or not.